And we are live. You can catch us on Rumble and YouTube. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and join our community. We'll be right back with you, Howlers. We'll be right back. How's over Baz? I'm Jacob Casas. Before I start, we got a very special guest today. But before we start, I wanted to go ahead and tell everybody to join our community, the howlersden.locals. Again, howlersden.locals. And during this podcast, we might get into little things that's too much for YouTube. So you're going to want to go to How's Over Baz /Rumble. So you might want to go to Rumble just in case we get into a little bit too much. So if you guys don't know what Rumble is, it's another form of YouTube. It's just a free speech owned by somebody completely different, obviously. But you want to check that out if we have to cut this off and go to Rumble. But so we're going to begin. We have a very special guest today. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience? Tell a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hi there, guys. My name is Mara Awara, and I am the author of Faucet, For We All Have the Power to Glow. This is a book it's the story about the power of a child and something that he has not even experienced yet. I wrote this book from the heart, and basically what ends up happening is to not really tell the entire story, but to say that he fell asleep and he might not have actually been asleep. So he sort of entered into this other world, and there's this character by the name of Faucet that comes into his life. Now, we think about two worlds that parallel. And with these two worlds that parallel, does Faucet actually exist? Maybe, maybe not. However, they have to work together. And because of this little boy, he helps Faucet to find his best friend. He also, in another way, he is able to really, his confidence he gains the confidence. He ends up shining and really just displaying this power within himself. So the fact that it's called For We All Have the Power to Glow, it really talks about this little boy who is able to gain a friend, gain confidence, and within himself that he cannot wait for others to see. So I think the nice thing about this whole story is the fact that, again, it came directly from my heart. And what I love about it the most is that these two friends, as they go on a journey together, they discover so much about themselves and about others, and they're able to create this amazing friendship that will never go away, because there will be stories after this one. I'm going to keep writing books about him, about Faucet. And Faucet is actually not the main character, even though it's called Faucet, For We All Have the Power to Glow. It is actually the little boy. So it's really overcoming fears, novel situations that we've never come across. And that's, you think about, what is your fear? What is your fear that you have? And everyone has a fear. And it's scary. You think about children. Obviously, this is a children's book, but this is also for adults as well. Because, like I said, we all fear something. And in order to overcome something, we have to face it. And that's really, I would say, the power of this book. The antagonist is not an actual person. So it's fear of the unknown.
Okay, before we get more into the book, because I have a lot of questions already, but before we get more into the book, where did the inspiration come from?
So I would say over a decade ago, with my boys, I created this character, and they were very young, and this is something that's always been in the heart, something that has always I would say, been with them, been with myself, and we wanted to create a character that would go on journeys and not only just be that typical story before it became a book, but not only the journey, but to impact others. And there's a saying that I did not create, but it was inspire, what is it? Inspire before you expire, which I think is powerful because we need to change because of the fact that hope is missing in this world. And I think that we need it, especially right now. We definitely need that hope.
So this book was inspired from like your family, like pieces of your family, from your children, you, things like that. Is that kind of how?
Absolutely.
Okay.
From my family, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So what? Let's get into that a little bit. So who of more? Is it like a mixture of everybody that had like their struggles and fears as a child, or was it more like about you? Like I'm just trying to come up with trying to envision this and let the audience envision what's going on with this book.
I think it's definitely not just about me, but it's about every single person that can really make that connection of what they fear in life. I remember hearing many years ago that more people would rather be in a casket than speaking the eulogy, and because of the fear of speaking in public. So if that's your fear, you can connect to this book. If your fear is death, you can connect to this book. If your fear is the first day of school, then you can connect to this book.
Well, let me explain a little bit. So the background of Howls Over Baz, and this has to do with what you're talking about, because Howls Over Baz, I'm going to start with Howls Over Baz, okay? It's basically wolves howl, sheep baa, so wolves over sheep, leaders over followers, things like that. But a lot of
that.
Thank you. But a lot of what we get into is parenthood and fathers, because to being a leader, a father has to be a leader, right? So we get into a lot of things about being a parent. I have 2 children, so I know the biggest thing that I'm probably ever going to do is be a father to those kids, because those children are going to grow up, and based on how we raise them, that's how a lot of them, how they're going to live their life, and trauma and things like that they go through or that they don't go through, that you have to put them through, building them up, making them go through those fears. And I have a son that has to go through a lot of stuff like that. So I look at that as I understand what you're talking about, just the simple fact that I'm a father with children that have to go through things like that.
Right.
So why don't we get into a little bit of the fear that you're talking about in the book? So something in that stands out to you in the book about him having to be courageous to go through fear, because in order to be courageous, you have to go fight through fear.
100%. You have to do it.
Exactly. So tell us something in there that the audience would resonate from the book.
Absolutely. So one of the parts of the stories is the little boy and Fawcett as they are running off basically into the unknown, into this land, as they hear this growling and they're trying to escape from it. And the amazing part is this little boy doesn't even know that he is able to, one, he can run super fast. Did not realize that. He never even had the confidence to attempt to run that fast. Second, Fawcett, because of the little boy, he is flying. Fawcett couldn't do that without the little boy. So this is where they need each other. And then second, maybe third, is that Fawcett has a trumpet shaped head, as you can kind of see that, and it glows. So it actually glows because of the little boy. So because of what the little boy has inside of him, he is basically able to activate this power.
So he's an imaginary friend. Is that who Fawcett is?
Could be. Maybe. Maybe he's not.
Okay. So, yeah, now I want to dive more deeper into this. So I don't want to get too much away, too, because you do want people to want to read the book.
Absolutely.
But we can give a good preview to what it's about,
Yeah.
So what else would you want to touch on? So Fawcett is an unknown character, really, that you have to... Is he explained who he is in the story later in, or not? It's not explained. It's kind of just where your imagination takes you.
It's more, I would say, of the introduction of Fawcett.
Okay.
Introduction of the relationship, introduction of what the little boy and Fawcett can do together. And then as Fawcett's searching for his best friend, that kind of introduces then the best friend. So there's going to be a lot of introductions of other characters, but you really just see in the beginning the mom putting the boy to bed. Then you see the boy meeting Fawcett as Fawcett comes to the home and sees the little boy. And then the little boy and Fawcett go on that adventure and they find Fawcett's best friend.
So what is the main, because I know we were talking out there and you said you would talk. So what is the reason you created this book? Where did it come from?
So I'm glad you asked that, because we'll say because of the C word that impacted and basically, excuse me.
So the C word that everybody had to go and stay in their homes, for people that don't know. So we're going to say the C word. Okay, go ahead.
That basically shut down the world. You know what I'm talking about, the world. So as I'm wearing my dress to really kind of make sense out of all that, is it really impacted me, and I know it impacted every single person, and it impacted them differently. It impacted different ages. You just think about from birth to, let's just add and say 110. Let's just give ourselves 110. So every single person was just so impacted by it. We are made and we are built to have that connection with others, and being isolated from each other and being separated from friends, being separated from family, that put an impact and it changed us.
It did.
It changed us as a whole. It changed us completely. As we've heard so many times,
weak.
It made people weak. It stunted our emotional IQ in many ways because we were so limited. And so I think that's one of the biggest things. I thought to myself, what can I give back? What can I give this society and help children to overcome fear, to overcome things that I would see where they would wear their mask and they would keep it and they would wear it outside. And I'm not going against any of that stuff. What I'm trying to say is the identity and the confusion as I think about, as I go down psychology, and I really think about the Erikson psychosocial stage, I think about number 5 from 12 to 18, the identity versus the confusion. And I think about how kids were just so impacted by it. And I think about how they didn't know how really to respond to a lot of these things happening in their lives. And I think about the lockdown and how it freed children from the physical gender expectations.
Okay, so I want to get into that too. But before we get into this stuff, give us a little bit of background on you. Because we were talking before, but I really think the audience needs to know a little bit about who you are and what you've done in order to create this book. I mean, what qualifies you and all that kind of stuff. So why don't you give them a little background about who you are?
Okay, so first, I will say I'm a mom. That's first and foremost. I did get my bachelor's in psychology from Azusa Pacific University. Fantastic school, by the way. And besides that, I did work with kids with disabilities for about 22 plus years. I would say that was my past life, and worked with, besides kids of different disabilities, mainly my focus was kids with autism. So really helping families and the grieving process, really helping that. And now, over a year into basically being a caseworker for San Bernardino County. So with that background, I would say that that emotional piece was huge for families. And I know from my own family, I wanted to make sure to do something, to give something, again, give something back. Give a change, help others somehow, besides lending that hand.
So your life was surrounded by children.
100%.
And helping families get through, trials and tribulations to get through. I mean, just knowing that their kid have autism. I had people in my family that had autism.
Really?
So I understand like the heartbreak it causes for them to have to go through that, because a lot of them have to stay home pretty much for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
They don't get to see family has to understand that child is not like every other child, but you got to get used to that, them being that way. And that's the life you have to live now.
100%.
You can't just like think, oh, I'm sad because my child is not going to do this. Well, no, that's just not his life.
Right.
His life is going to be different, or her life's going to be different, and getting and understanding this is the way our life's going to be. And that's hard to do. But I mean, when you love your child, you do anything anyways.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's the key word is different. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, I remind parents all the time, your kid's a genius. They just learn differently.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I really think that we all learn differently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they amaze me. Kids with autism absolutely amaze me. I've always been fascinated by them.
So identity.
Identity.
Let's get into that. So we can say specific words, so we don't have to cut off YouTube.
Yes.
We're going to say Transformers instead, right? So Transformers, a lot of people have the books in schools right now for little children on Transformers, how to be a Transformer,
Yeah.
how to go into that. So this is showing about the identity in what? Like what identity are you talking about in this book?
That is a great question. So I will say that it's not condemning anything or anyone, but it's just basically saying whoever you are, glow, shine, be that person. Because you're beautiful inside and out, and you're accepted. You're accepted by me. I mean, I know that there's so many other people that accept all these kids, but it's just something for parents and kids to know that because of that shift of the C word and everything that happened, you know, I think about with Transformers,
Yeah.
I think about the books in general. Those books, when you think about that, they've been in the library for a very long time. I took a children's literature class.
They have. I
They
didn't know
have
that.
been there for a
So they were
very
just
long
hiding them in there.
Which is, I would say, another huge thing that impacted me was taking a children's literature class in college. That was
So tell us
powerful.
about that a little bit then.
I loved it. I learned so many things about all these different books. That's when I found out that there were, you know, books on Transformers.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have ever known that.
Yeah, I think we just started
Honestly.
seeing it way later when it was.
Yeah.
Now I know, and they're trying to teach children how to do that. So that's why I feel like you need to parent your child.
Yeah.
Don't let the world parent them because they will parent them.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I remember going to my kids' junior high meeting, and they were going to talk with the families about what they're going to be teaching the kiddos in basically sex education, and they were going to have a science teacher teach it. And I thought, well, that's actually awesome that they're doing that. But what puzzled me was there was literally less than 12 parents there.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, I understand that parents work. Guess what? So do I. But I took that time off because I wanted to know what they were learning. And I wanted to be a part of that. And I want to be able to explain, this is exactly what this means. To not have to go in, you know, complete detail every single time, but at least give enough information to make sense.
Exactly. So I wanted to ask you a question too. So, as a mother,
Yes.
you wrote that book.
Yes.
What were you trying? If you were, what were you trying? I mean, I feel like every parent is, in a sense, speaking to their child
100%.
when it comes to something like this. What were you trying to tell your kids from that book? As a mother.
As a mother, I think I was trying to teach my kids or tell my kids that they are special. They are not average. They are not ordinary. They are amazing human beings, and they have a power within them that they could do anything, that there is nothing that will ever limit them. No matter if their GPA is as high as possible or it's not as high as possible, there's nothing. If you have something in your heart, nothing can possibly ever stop it.
A lot of children don't get that
They don't.
push from a lot of their
That's
parents that they can do anything. So you're one
right.
of those moms. That's a good mom.
I'm one of those moms, and I will tell you, though, that when my kids have sleepovers, you know, I guess as teenagers we don't call it that, just hangouts, right? And when they're there, my goal, I would say in life, is just to encourage others. I love, my favorite book is Man's Search for Meaning from Viktor Frankl. And one of the biggest things he says, which is pretty intense because of it's about the how and why that we live, but also to impact so many people that you get as many people to come to your funeral. And I'm not trying to be morbid about it, but honestly, to really inspire others. And as I hear from friends from my past telling me, because of you, I did this or I did that, it makes me emotional because of the fact that I could change someone's perspective in life, and that they have their family, or maybe they don't, but my words did enough for them to say, you know what, you're right, I could do this. I could do just about anything in life. And I can overcome this or I can overcome that, no matter if you went through a trauma. And I think that's another thing, too, is this book is, in regards to just traumas that people go through in life. No matter what, we can overcome it.
So I want to ask you, from from writing your book to being a parent, being a mom, what are you grounded? What are you grounded in? Where does this everything stem from?
From my amazing parents, who taught me of faith, for sure. A grandmother who is incredible, an amazing grandfather. Unfortunately, I was only able to meet my mom's mom and dad, so that grandma and grandpa. And then I have a great grandmother who is actually, she was a pastor in Pomona, California.
Okay.
And that was pretty incredible. And I have an amazing uncle who's also, as you know, a pastor as well. And so I think a lot of that is just, I think it's been instilled in me, and it's something that has sort of been wanting to give birth in that way.
Yeah.
To reach out.
Shout out to Pastor Bob for sure. Pastor Bob was one that reached out to me to have her come on.
Yeah,
but on House Over Baz, we don't play around over here. Like we want to know, like when this is why I started the podcast.
Yeah.
So when I talk on here, and I always say, okay, when I ask business owners, so many people that come in here,
yeah,
I'm like, what are you grounded in? Where does everything stem from? Like me, I'm a Christian. Everything stems from Jesus Christ to me, right? I start with that, and everything stems from that. That's how I try to work through my life.
Yeah.
I'm not doing everything like I'm supposed to, but I'm still trying to build that off of that. The more I do this podcast, the more I see things, the more I do things.
Right.
That's what I'm building off of.
Right.
So you said in faith. So is that where
100%
you're building?
100% instilled in faith. 100%. Okay. I would say that it definitely came from that, and I think this is why I am here today. I should say actually that a pastor at my church actually said to me that I'm going to write a book, and I thought that was crazy because he didn't know that.
Were you in fear to write that book and put it out? Did you have to be courageous to get that thing out, or you just
100% because of the fact that 1 to 2% get accepted? That that's the epitome, I think.
To a publisher, is that what you mean?
Yes, yeah. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to do this, and if it doesn't work out, it's fine. I mean, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
So.
Well, you got it out. And how long has it been out for? Where can they find it at?
So actually, they can find it on Amazon. There are several. Barnes & Noble. They have that on their website. Oh, they're at Barnes & Noble, too. Yes, they actually they have it on their website. So it'll be in the stores very soon. It has been out since, I would say, it got published in September 2023.
Okay.
So on eBay, Google Books, Thrift Book, Apple Book, Walmart. That's another one. It's available on Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and audiobook very, very, very soon, which I'm so excited about because I'm a huge, huge Mary Poppins fan, and I really wanted that British accent, and I got it, and I'm so excited.
That's good. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So when you talk about hope, tell us a little bit about that. Like, because, I mean, everybody has their own thoughts of hope, like because they're hoping for something else. Not every human being is hoping for the same thing.
Absolutely.
So what was your process on that when you say we need hope. Where did you need that at? Where did that come from?
I think that we need hope in this dying world, in this dying society, because I feel like I can almost feel it like an energy. And I think that this is really a huge one that inspired me because of just seeing teenagers as I pick up my kids from high school. I see their faces and I think to myself, I want to just go to them. Of course, they might think I'm strange if I do that, but I want to go to them and just say, "Hey, how's it going? How are you?" I'm able to say this to ask my friends, my kids' friends, but I want to talk with them and just see, what they're feeling, what are their emotions, because I think the biggest thing in high schools, elementaries, junior highs, all that is that mental health was not pushed right after COVID. When the schools opened back up, it wasn't pushed, and it needed to be.
Let's be honest. I feel like they were trying to destroy mental health in people.
100%.
I really believe that because every kid is. I feel like that whole generation it took a huge skip over.
Yes.
I can't even hire people around that age that didn't graduate and do all that stuff because it's just hard. Those people they have a different outlook at life.
Yeah.
So how I look at things is I have to go right now. The people are so weak in the world.
Yes.
And I'm not the only one doing this. Not my only business doing this. A lot of businesses are going to the high schools, trying to recruit high schoolers because they're starting now to become a little tougher. The high schoolers are. The generation after or before that, they're it's like they're so weak right now. I can't even deal with it. And for people trying to hire here and things like that, it's too much.
Right.
So a lot of people are trying to recruit kids from high school now because it's like they're trying to do something with these kids in high school right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have had some interns from high school that I brought in to be diesel technicians at my shop and all that. And it's crazy. They're so different. It's like you can mold them better and they're a little tougher. So it's just it's like that whole generation just got wiped out in a sense.
Yeah.
It's like the way they think, their mentality, they don't have to work. They got money from the government. They think doing all this Transformer stuff is great.
Transformer.
All this stuff going on is just crazy to me. And it's good to see a book come out that has to do with none of that.
Right.
It has to do with hope and books like how when I was growing up,
right,
talking about that, because nobody's trying to talk about hope and finding your identity. They're trying to people are trying to get you to find your identity in being Transformer.
Right.
It's like you're just trying to mess their heads up more. They need to find out who they are, their purpose in life.
That's right.
That's
100%.
really what it comes down to. And that's not going to find their purpose in life to become a Transformer. That's something you shouldn't even be thinking about. Find your purpose in life, what you should be doing. Like I said, I'm a believer, so what's your purpose in God? What's your purpose? What are you supposed to be doing?
Right.
That's how I look at things, and that's what I feel like this podcast is about. I'm not going to conform to what these people outside of us are doing. That's why it's Hells Over Baz, leaders over followers.
Right.
I'm not trying to speak to people out here that are just sheep.
Right.
Just following the crowd, the flock, it's just crazy to me. I can't do that. And the people I bring on, that's why I like bringing. When Pastor Bob was telling me about you, I was like, let's get her on.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So let's break into it a little bit more. Tell us a little bit more about another part in the book. You do want to do another one, a second one, right, with the same characters?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I do. I will say.
Did you write it already, or?
It's actually, I started to write it. So I will say that there are going to be some additional characters. Can I open up this book?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's yours, so it's great. We can do all that.
Okay, so of course not to tell the entire story, but you'll kind of see. Here's the picture of the mom and the little boy, and actually these.
I love how it looks like a little kid drew the.
Thank you.
Who drew it?
I drew it.
You did?
I did all the illustrations.
That's cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I do actually love to draw. I do draw, I will say, like real pictures of actual faces and all of that. But this was more of just colored pencils.
Yeah.
And really trying to capture both of my boys' rooms.
Yeah.
So my husband is sleeping already, so you won't see him in this picture. But the mom is there, and it is nighttime. Night has come upon us, so you'll kind of see a sort of, besides academics, you'll see sports, you'll see trophies in there, you'll see a globe. So it's very identical in many ways as far as both of my boys' rooms.
Okay.
And then this is when Fawcett comes into his life. This is where, you think about the parallel of their different worlds sort of collide in that way. And I think the thing about this that I love the most is, in many ways, the little boy, he's basically like, why? Why do you want me to go? Instead of saying, he of course says, like, who are you? But he doesn't question it that much. And I think that's kind of the cool part, is that he knows that, okay, it is time. And so as they journey together and, they're off and they go into these, some of these dark areas, and they sort of discover all these things together. And of course, I don't want to show all the pictures, but there is something growling. And we don't really know. Is it a shadow? Is it something there? It could be. But this is where, the fear that comes, I think about, like, when I was little, was I afraid to walk in the dark? I don't remember being afraid of the dark. But for little ones that might be afraid of that, then this is something that they can definitely say that this is very relatable in that way. You think about when there's that obstacle in your life, not just being afraid of the dark, the obstacle in your life. Can you overcome it? Of course you can overcome it, but you have to do something in order to overcome that obstacle. You have to take that leap of faith. You have to do something in this world to make that change. Just like after 22 years of me in a job, I decided I'm going to do a completely different career change. Very relatable, but different. Something I'm going to learn completely different, learn all these new things. Can I do it? You know what? Maybe I can't, but I have to try. And I think it was the same time of this book, getting this book published, I have to try it. I have to see if this works out, because I'm always going to ask myself, could I have done it? Should I have done it? Is it too late? And it's not. And so I think that's the nice thing about everyone at all these different ages. And I think this book, too, is, not only for parents, not only for moms, dads, women, men, everybody, but educators, therapists, all of them, and librarians, to be able to read this book to the kids and to really be able to make it relatable for everyone. I'm going to skip a couple. Well, this is one of the pages that I was talking about, actually. And Fawcett said, "Quick, boy, run, and don't stop, but try not to wake up just yet." So again, was he sleeping? Was he awake? Maybe he was sleeping. But as we're reading the story, maybe we don't want it to be really that he was sleeping. Maybe we want him to believe that this fantasy world is actually legit. So why not? Why limit ourselves in that way? So I think that's kind of the nice piece about it. And he does. He lights up. Fawcett lights up. It's a funny name, but it's a name that came upon me, and I just thought, I'm going to go with this crazy name.
I want to ask you a question. I want to get a little deep into you. So did you escape when you were a child? Did you had to escape in your mind to have this fantasy life going on in your mind? Is that how? Is it because this book, you wrote the book,
yes.
You created the characters, you did that. So I'm wondering if that's. The reason I'm asking, because I had to do that. I grew up kind of rough.
Yeah.
So I would imagine things and create this whole life in my mind, and that's how I escaped from reality.
Right.
So is that what you were doing? Is that's why you wrote the book?
I'd want to say, being born in Inglewood, California, I would say that I think a lot of us do, actually. Definitely. I think there was a point of kind of escaping, but still holding on to reality. But the whole imagination, point, I think growing up, you think, I could do this. Or, as you're asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, you think I want to be a pony, right? You might think of the most ridiculous things, but there's a lot of things that you might think that you want to be, and it's completely possible. So I would say yes. I would say definitely. I think as an adult, though, I did experience a home invasion. So I'm going to kind of go right there.
So I was going to say, that's another thing I was going to say. So this book has a lot to do with imagination and fear.
Right.
So a lot of times we write about ourselves personally. Right. I mean, I understand. I have things I'm doing too when it comes to books and things like that. So a lot of it comes from ourselves.
Right.
So let's get into that. So you had a home invasion. Let's talk about
a home invasion. So it's funny because my best friend who lives in Tennessee, her name's Vivian. She is one of the characters of Bendiglo in this book, and she's the best friend that he is searching for, Fawcett's searching for, and he's the one that lives in the country, and Fawcett's more city life type of thing. So she had said to me many years ago, hey, do you guys ever have home invasions out there? And it was funny. She might not remember that she asked me that, and I was like, no, not really. Like, we're, California, it's not that often. That was many years ago. So in 2018, we actually did experience it at our house. And the crazy part about it is, so this man who did try to come into the house, I will say that we were protected. It was myself and my boys. And as he realized that we were home, he still jumped the brick wall. He still tried to get into the house. I was almost to the point where I'm looking at this man from the window. I'm seeing his weapon. I, of course, naturally, being the person that I am, I grab a weapon as well, and I let him know that my knife is bigger, and, let's bring it on, right?
That's the Inglewood.
That's the Inglewood. So, and I think being a female, and I think growing up just being a strong female in that way, I was, being mama bear. And I'm going to protect my kids no matter the cost, but I will win. So that's kind of how I saw it.
I love that.
Right? And so he did try to get in, and once I did make eye contact with him, and I was actually on the phone with dispatch, letting him know that what was happening, I bang at the window, and I let him know, like, you're not going to hurt any of us. Basically, this is not happening. And he looks at me, and he just goes like that, and he says, oh, crap. And it was crazy because I could see fear in his eyes, and I felt no fear. I felt complete peace. And I thought to myself, okay, this is the moment right here. This is what I was waiting for. This is what I've been trained for my entire life. And so the moment that he grabs basically a metal chair, throws it at the bay window, he's getting in, we start the escape. So my boys and I, we run to the garage. They're prepared. They know because I've talked to them about these things before, just because of who I am and the way I was raised. And so we go to get in the car and drive off, and he stole a car. It was on the driveway. So we were limited. I mean, I could easily just crashed into his car and drove off. Instead, we ran. We ran across the street. We were fine. We were okay. He was still in the house. The police came. The sheriffs did amazing. They got the guy. They pulled him out. They got him.
He didn't even try to leave. He must have been a psycho.
You know what? That just tells me that he was so at peace at my house. He was very happy there. But it was just kind of funny. Yeah, he was. He really.
That is. He had to have been like something had to be messed up in his head because for him to stay there, that didn't make any sense.
For sure.
You think he would have tried to get whatever he got and leave, but he stayed.
Yeah, he stayed, and he actually was able to. He didn't get anything at all.
So he wasn't there to get anything.
He was planning to get a lot of things.
But the thing is, maybe he was trying to hurt somebody.
I think so.
That seems like he was just psycho trying to hurt somebody. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
You did what you did.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think the good thing about that is the next day I did art therapy with my kids, and just making sure, again, that mental health piece, making sure I got them the help in case they needed it, and myself, and we were good. We were fine. And it's just something that I, told my boys, you guys can use this story when you write your essay for college. Like, this is a story about resilience. Again, here's the book. It's about resilience. It's about hope. It's about really being able to survive something that just is almost not even possible to survive. I mean, I look at it, I'm like, there's no way that we could have survived that if we didn't have someone, amazing watching over us.
Yeah.
That voice, I followed that voice that whole time in that whole situation.
When how old were your kids at the time?
9 and 11.
Wow, they were really young.
They were really young.
So you said you did art therapy with them.
I did.
The next day? Mm-hmm. And did you have to keep doing like therapy with them? Were they getting scared sometimes? How would that work out? How did that work out for you guys?
Well, I think the amazing part about it is we were going through it together, because even though it is trauma, it's very traumatic for us, we're dealing with it differently because of each one of us developmentally.
So how did your husband take it? Because a man...
Oh, 100%.
They really take things really hard when they're like, I wanted to be there,
Right.
But we can't be everywhere. Maybe
Right.
he's working, whatever the case is. But you just to know somebody, because I've had a house that got robbed. So to know somebody violated your home and things like that, but with your family there, how was he? How did he take that?
So I will say that when I was little, our house got robbed as well. And that was something very traumatic for all of us. And my brother and my dad, when they came back, my brother, I believe he went to get the remote control to turn the TV on, and it wasn't there. So I remember, that was a crazy story to me.
Yeah.
But in regards to that, my husband was not there. He was actually doing something amazing. He was volunteering for a sports league at that time.
Uh-huh.
And, if something had happened to us, that's where the survivor's guilt comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
And that would have been horrible. But I think there's something that does snap in you in certain situations. And of course, we don't know unless we're in that situation where it's like, am I going to survive? Am I going to be resilient in the situation? Or am I just going to say, just take me now. It's fine. That wasn't even an option. So I think survival has always been something that's been in my mindset. I think I've always been mindful of it. It's a daily thing. And I think this is where, again, that hope has always been with me in that way as well. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it did. It's crazy because I think that the generation, like a lot of the newer generation, doesn't do things like that. It doesn't snap in their mind. They don't think about things like that, and it's like it's almost embedded in us because we weren't on our phones all the time. We didn't have that stuff.
Right.
So it's just the way everybody is now. It's like somebody younger. I don't think they would have survived.
Right.
Because this guy came in, he wanted to be there.
Right.
Who knows what he could have done to you guys?
Right.
And he probably would have done something very terrible.
Right.
Because that's just weird for him to stay there.
Right.
But that was you being courageous, having to push through that fear, and you said you weren't even scared.
No.
You did your job.
Yeah.
And that's wild. So
that's exactly what it was. I did my job.
Yeah, you did your job.
Yeah.
You took care of your kids, and you got them out of there.
Right.
And you had protection just in case.
That's right.
So, how are your kids handling that now as they're older? Is it something that even comes up or?
Every once in a while, I think they kind of saw it as more of like a Home Alone scene, which I think is hilarious because if you can look at it like that, when it really wasn't like that, I think that's the beautiful piece about the trauma. Like, okay, accepting it, and you know what? We're okay. We're resilient like that. But I do want to ask you, like one of the things that you said earlier, you basically mentioned about going to the high schools and the hiring those ones. Now the ones basically the ones that passed that time, meaning the mentality of the sort of like that lost generation.
Yes,
right?
It's a lost generation for sure.
What can we do to change that? Because I feel like there's something possible. We could do something.
Well, I think a lot about what they do is they scrolling all the time on social media,
That's right.
playing video games, things like
Right.
that. I think if you put up good content is currency right now at the same time. So it's great to
That's right.
put up content and all that. Me, I didn't even really mess with Instagram and all that much. I started messing with it once I started doing this. So it's all work for me. But I think talking, because a lot of it, I mean, I hate saying this.
Just say it.
But a lot of them, I feel like it's just like, because I know this isn't biblical, but a lot of these guys, I feel like, man, this guy got no hope. Like, you cannot get through to them for anything. I've talked to so many of these people, and you just cannot get through. It's like there's a blocked wall. You are talking to a wall they don't want to get through. And so, I mean, to me, it is so different dealing with these kind of people. It's just completely different. And I'm looking at these people like, I know this, like I said, this isn't biblical, but I look at this because I don't even want to deal with them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to deal with them. I try to just push them to the side. Like, I don't want to deal with you. I'm going past them to go to the high schools now. I'm like, I push these guys to the side. They come in here. If they get interviewed, I'm like, dude, go. Like, they want $30 an hour, and they have no clue what they're doing, and they don't want to work. They don't even want to work. They want to take off. So I'm just like, I can't deal with these guys. But like I said, I'm always real when it comes to things. But I know that's not what we should do. We shouldn't push these people to the side. Because a lot of these people are still going to be, it's a good gap of these people are going to be running the world. You know, so it's a huge gap of them still. So I think, I mean, all we can really do, like you know, pray and we can make things like you're doing, right? Like content, things, books, things that can do something better for them, because it's almost, but they don't even want to see or listen, but to what we have to say, they don't even want to hear this. They're so blinded by how they think reality is. So, I mean, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, here's one thing is, I hear what you're saying, you know, the closed hearts type of thing. They're going to have kids one day. And how can we reach their kids if their parents are raising them from that perspective?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I feel like it's not even an option to that point where we have to reach them. And when I say reach them, I'm not saying, you know, I want to convert you. I want, you know, this and that. No, I want to change your perspective in life. I want you to understand that there is hope versus despair. I want you to understand that we can make a change. Even one person can make a change. And you can do that with your kid. You know, you can do that with every single, think about like, if I could impact one person every single day, I don't know, somehow, if I just say hi, or if I, you know, walk into a store, whatever you do, just, you know, hey, how's it going? I'm not saying, you know, for the introverts, you have to talk to every single person, but a smile would be good, right? I mean, do something to just give the world a brighter perspective.
I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just so hardened by everything, and I'm just like, you know.
Right.
But you're right. I mean, you're completely right. It's not wrong at all what you're saying. I feel like you're completely on target. It's just with me, I'm in a cutthroat industry.
Yeah.
Everything's cutthroat around. I feel like my whole life is cutthroat around me.
Right.
So I'm always like I just look past them, and I try to. But you're right. Because especially having this podcast and seeing even how I act and how people act on the podcast, we have even dating and relationship shows, and some of them are just wild.
Yeah,
we're like, how do these people even think like this, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking, all we can do is keep pushing out what we believe, our thoughts, and I kind of look at it as, okay, if you're not doing anything with your life, how do you even believe what you're saying? Like, your life isn't going anywhere.
Right.
You know, like so I try to explain that to a lot of these people. Like, where are you in your life, and you think you're completely right about everything you're doing?
Yeah.
Like I think you're thinking too much, and you need to be pushing forward on things.
Yeah.
If you were to actually live and move forward and build something,
That's
you
right.
wouldn't think that way. I think people need to build things. They need to see reality. Because if you're not building anything, if you're just existing and life sitting around, you can have all kinds of crazy thoughts, dark thoughts, and just this wild way of thinking. Just so I want to be different to make you not like me. And that's what I feel like a lot of these people try to do.
Right.
I want to be so different that you don't like me, and I want to hate everything you like. But I think if they put their time into actually building something, they would have no choice but to live in reality. In a sense, it's still not full reality because you made that book and that came from your imagination.
Right.
But you have to start with the blueprint, and then you got to execute that blueprint. You
Right.
can't just let it linger and just
Right.
sit on it.
Right.
Because then you're like, okay, I created this whole thing, but I'm doing nothing with it. Then it's just a dream.
That's right.
And you can't do nothing if your dream is just sitting over there, because everybody has an imagination. Everybody can have a dream.
That's right.
But you're not executing it.
Yeah.
You need to have the dream, create the blueprint, and then execute it. You can't just leave it lingering.
That's right.
And that's when the work comes in. Then they're like, oh, shoot, all this stuff that I thought I was so great at what I did, when you actually create the blueprint, you're still kind of in that thought process. But when you execute it, everything changes. Everything. Because you didn't realize how hard it's going to actually be. It builds you. It helps build character. You start changing the way you think. But if they're just handed everything, get the government giving them money, things like that, then they don't understand real life, because
No.
they could just sit around and believe and think whatever they want and have their own theology, their own philosophy that created in their head.
Right.
And believe only, even like, I mean, you even talk to people that read the Bible, that they only believe certain things in the Bible because
That's right.
they're not working through it. I feel like that's the main, and that's crazy. I've never even said that on this podcast, but I think you have to work through actually what you're doing.
Right.
You can't just keep daydreaming.
That's right.
It's not going to work.
And what I think too, like you're saying, is words, they fall. You know, you could say whatever you want to say, they fall. But action, truth, the kind of person that you are with other people, that's what shows. And I think that's what's important. And that is going to lead others to want to be the best of themselves.
Yeah. Is that how you would? What would you do if you had the opportunity to just reach people? What would you do? Like, how would you handle that? To like let these people see reality, or just give them hope, or anything that how you're thinking.
I think I'm already doing it now. I think with friends and family, I should hope at least that they see me like that, is that not only am I saying things a certain way, but I'm doing my best to apply it in my life. So I think in that way, if I could speak to hundreds and thousands of people in these situations that are going through these traumatic things in their lives and shutting people down, I would definitely want to talk with them about the importance of hope and how love is everything in this world. And we're missing all of that. We're missing a huge piece of it. We all have this, not all of us, but a lot of us just have this gap in our lives that we're trying so hard to fill. And we need to understand that we were made for a purpose. We were made on purpose. And whether your perspective, whatever it is in that way, I think just really understanding that we are there to lift others up. And, I think about like when I tell my boys, you see someone fall in basketball, put your hand out. The other team, put your hand out, help them out. Let them know I'm here for you to help you out. So I think in that way, just really being that beacon of hope. I think being the light in the world for others to just really see.
And how are you being that light?
I think me being that light, I would say through this book, and just really showing children and showing adults that we stand out, that we actually have something living in us that is so powerful. But unless we activate that, then we're not doing anything. We're just stagnant. And I think that is important for us to understand that.
I like that. How do you activate that?
How do you activate it?
I like that a lot, though, that you said that. Because there's something inside of us, but unless you activate it, that's reality, I think.
Yeah.
That is such reality because I mean, I look at so many people with so many ideas and dreams, but they never activate it.
Oh, 100%.
That's majority of the world.
Yeah.
So how would you, in your mind, how would you what can you say to these people of how they would activate that in them? How can they?
I think they have to believe in themselves. I think many times, they've been maybe denied by others, by friends, by family. And I remind my boys and I remind kids in general and adults that a rejection is just an opinion. One rejection is one opinion. That means nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, I think to myself, when I tried to publish the book, and if I had been rejected, that's just an opinion. Do I try another publisher? Sure. I mean, would I have tried like up to 10, up to 20? Maybe. Would I have given up? I should hope not.
You can even be your own publisher. If you wanted to.
I could. Yeah. But I think it's my way. I do believe that I have just really tried to activate it by giving some words of wisdom, by applying it to my life, and just showing hope and love, I think, with others.
I wanted to read some of the chats. We got some chats in here. I keep looking over here.
Please.
So you have Eric Wise. I don't know if you know him.
Yes.
Okay, it says, very professional interview, great topic. And then Vivian, love from Tennessee.
That's the best friend. That's a Bendiglow right there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a Bendiglow.
Shout out to you guys. Thank you for watching.
That first one was my cousin, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
we got some people watching. There's a lot of people watching right now.
Love you guys.
Yeah. We got people on Rumble. Any chats from Rumble? Any Rumble rants?
Here's a Bendiglow right here.
We got this going on, too. But yeah.
She's actually in my, on one of my Instagram pages.
Okay, good comments on Rumble. Okay, so you seem like you're a woman that leads, and we talk a lot about leadership in here. Even the way you handled yourself, you kind of remind my mom like a lot, a lot.
Oh,
you remind me of my
then
mom
that's a
lot.
compliment.
Yeah, she's tough too.
Good. She takes people down.
Yeah, she don't play either.
Body slams.
Yeah. She's like gonna protect her kids all out. You know,
right.
Doesn't matter how it goes. So, what is leadership to you? When you think of a leader, what is leadership to you? Who is a leader?
A leader is, besides my mom and my dad, and I think besides my grandmother and my grandfather and my great-grandmother, I would say doing something. I think about, you talked about the sheep. I think rising above, even though my great-grandmother was a pastor, female pastor at that time. I almost want to say that was forbidden. It wasn't forbidden, but it was, I would say, more frowned upon. Mm-hmm. So I think leadership, I think about her because of the fact that she stepped up as a woman. She's like, well, if no man's going to do it, then I'm going to do it. So I think it's, again, it's activating. And I think it's saying, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I may get negative opinions of others, but at this point, I don't care because I think that this is my mission. I think this is where I'm supposed to be. And however it works out, it's meant to be. So I would say leadership is, I'd say I look at it like that.
What do you know what your purpose is in life? Do you believe you know what your purpose is? Besides
to help others, besides to get as many people to my funeral as I can, besides that, definitely being that beacon of hope, being that light to others, helping others to actually activate what they have inside of them, and to help children and adults to know that no matter who they are, that they are special and that they are amazing and they are beautiful people, and that we are meant for a great, great purpose. And we can do this. No matter the trauma, no matter whatever you've gone through again in your life, that you have a uniqueness to you.
Where do you want to see your book go from here? Like, where do you want to see it?
So I do know that it is selling around the world. I do know that. And I think it's more on websites.
Okay.
Like India, Japan, China. I'm like, in
It's doing
Canada.
well. Then.
It's selling all over the world. So that in that way, that's incredible. I'm so glad about that. But I will say though that my goal in life was to publish a book and not to sit around and say, oh, look at me, I'm an author. No, nothing like that. It was to make a difference in the world, to be able to help others and to be able to show them that they are just so special in this world. So I think that that's more of like what my purpose in life is. And of course, create the most amazing boys and try to get them to understand how truly special they are.
And your boys are still young right now.
They're still young.
So you still have
Teenagers.
a lot of teaching to do.
Yeah.
You and your husband.
Yes.
That's cool. I like that. I like that. That you guys. It seems like you guys come from a generation where you guys are really involved.
Yes, we're very involved.
You guys help mold their minds. You're not allowing the world to do that.
No. Definitely not. No. We're trying to be that that strength. We're trying to really lead in that way and lead by example.
So you do want to do another book?
Oh, for sure. I want to do a few of them.
Or you want the same one or different
So
books?
as he continues his journey, there are some other journeys that he is going to be traveling to, and of course I won't say, but there will be characters that will be added. So characters that actually do come from the heart, and a lot of my really close friends know some of these characters that I've even mentioned that I'm going to be adding. So it's,
oh, really?
Yeah. So it's just kind of funny, some of these ones.
You're getting more people in the chat. I'm just
love you guys.
Gives hope. Bob and Lena.
Oh yeah.
You know them too?
Yeah.
It says give.
That's my
gives
parents.
Hope. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to the parents.
Shout out to mom and dad.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. We are running out of time, but I think this book sounds cool. I want to get it for my kids. My daughter's 10. I guarantee she would like this thing.
Oh,
so
I appreciate that.
and my kids are so into imagination. It's crazy. Like my son is always in his head all the time. I look at that as my son would like that a lot. He's 14, but he's still like a little kid. He's so into his imagination, so I think it'd be great for him. Yeah. But I appreciate you coming on. We got to shout out to Pastor Bob too. But if we can, because our slogan is "Shed the Sheep." If we can just look at the camera and say "Shed the Sheep" on 3.
Of course.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Shed the sheep. How was your experience on the show?
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to tell the audience before we go?
No, I love you guys, and thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to follow on definitely on my Instagram, Mara Awara Author, Facebook, Mara Awara, TikTok, Fawcett 2023. You can even email me, and I will do my best to answer. It is Mara Awara Author at authorbook.me, and Pinterest, Mara Awara Author, YouTube channel, Mara Awara Author. Love you guys.
Appreciate it. How's over Baz? I'm Jacob Casas, and we are out. Yeah, you had some watchers today.